Honourable member for Kitchener South Hespeler. Yes, excuse me.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. A couple of weeks ago, I happened to catch Stefan Palozzo's speech on Budget 2018. Hearing the Governor of the Bank of Canada's remarks on our federal budget filled me with pride. Hearing his optimism about the present macroeconomic situation, including the creation of over 280,000 jobs in the past 12 months and the lowest unemployment in 40 years, made me proud to be a part of this government that believes in evidence-based policy and uses it to make informed and sound financial decisions for this country. The notable takeaway from the Bank of Canada, Governor Palozzo, highlighted the groups of people in Canada that represent sources of untapped potential. These include youth, women, Indigenous people, and the growing number of recent migrants. Mr. Speaker, let's focus on youth for a minute. The Governor cites young people as one of the sources of untapped potential, and I wholeheartedly agree. There is a decline in youth participation in the economy, and for Canada to truly prosper, more young Canadians will have to have jobs, and pathways to these jobs must be created. Mr. Speaker, this is where Budget 2018 comes in. In Budget 2018, the new Canada Workers Benefit will encourage more people, more youth, to join the workforce. Our plan will offer real help to more than 2 million Canadians who are working hard to join the middle class. Our plans anticipates raising roughly 70,000 Canadians out of poverty. At the same time, starting in 2019, the government will also make it easier for people to access the benefit they have earned, making changes that will allow the Canada Revenue Agency to calculate the CWB for any tax filer who hasn't claimed it yet. The Canada Workers Benefit replaces the Working Income Tax Benefit. This means that low-income workers earning $15,000 would receive up to almost $500 more from the CWB in 2019 than in 2018 to invest and spend on things that are important to them, such as groceries, utilities, and other essentials. Our government ensures that smooth running of a new measure we introduced. As such, over the next year, the government work to determine in the delivery of the CWB can be further improved to provide better support to low-income Canadians through the year, rather than through an annual refund after filing their taxes. Mr. Speaker, it is no secret that Budget 2018 has been referred to as the gender budget, and I am proud to say that every single decision on expenditures and tax measures in this budget was informed by a gender-based analysis. A gender-based analysis such as this is important to target particular groups and produce evidence-based policy, and to help end the income gap between women and men doing equal work. The most notable example of this budget in 2018 is the promise to fund a dedicated second parent leave under the employment insurance, which will see $240 million in funding a year, rising to $345 million. This includes giving couples who share parental leave an additional 5 weeks of paid benefits starting in June 2019. These measures seek to increase the number of men who take time off after arrival of a new child. The new parent-sharing benefit will allow two-parent families, including same-sex parents and people who adopt, to share leave. The opportunity to take an additional 5 to 8 weeks away from work to spend with their children. Mr. Speaker, despite these efforts, much work needs to be done to make child care accessible to parents. Lack of child care is what keeps women out of the workforce, as research has shown. In order to encourage and facilitate more women participation in the labor force, we must lower the cost of child care. Mr. Speaker, our government is committed to making affordable and early learning and child care more accessible. In Budget 2017, government announced a long-term investment of $7.5 billion over 11 years to support more accessible and affordable early learning. Following this, the federal government and provincial territorial governments reached an agreement on multilateral early learning, and child care framework. The government is now entering into a 3-year bilateral agreement with provinces and territories in order to review and adjust these agreements as needed over the 11-year framework. Mr. Speaker, so far we have reached 9 agreements. While I'm on the topic of women's participation in the workforce, it's important to mention that the important contribution of women entrepreneurs. Budget 2018 recognizes this in its strategy for women entrepreneurs. $1.65 billion in new financing is being made available to women business owners, which will be delivered over 3 years throughout the Business Development Bank of Canada, Export Development Canada. Mr. Speaker, I want to talk about the Fierce founders in Communitech in my riding. They're the first female-focused accelerator group created to encourage gender diversity in tech and encouraging women entrepreneurs to start tech companies. Communitech helps with financing this program, and it has done tremendous in our region to helping female entrepreneurs get into the startup sector and pursue high-tech jobs. Budget 2018 proposes an additional $511 million over 5 years on a cash basis starting in 2018-2019 to the regional development agencies to support the innovative and skills plans across regions of Canada. Of the $511 million, $149 million will be allocated to Federal Economic Development Agency for Southern Ontario, of which $33 million will be for nationally coordinated, regionally tailored support for women entrepreneurs. In addition, our government recognizes the barriers that make it difficult for women to launch their own business. So we are committed to providing $105 million over 5 years to reduce these such barriers. Our government also has commitment to make grants and programs for scientific research more accessible to women. As a Member of Parliament in the Tri-Cities, I want to talk about innovation and infrastructure, which is a welcome one in our region, especially in the light of the federal government's $950 million innovation superclusters. I am proud to say that the University of Waterloo in my region will take a leading research role, 2 of the 5 winning bids, as part of the Innovation Supercluster Initiative. The government announced the advancement of manufacturing superclusters, an innovation hotbed that is home to a strong industrial cluster or clusters linked through their shared reliance on specialized inputs, including technologies, talent, and infrastructure. The superclusters will connect Canada's technology strength to our manufacturing industry to make us a world manufacturing leader economy of tomorrow. Mr. Speaker, the Federal Economic Development Agency for Southern Ontario currently supports economic growth in Southern Ontario through a delivery of the federal program services. The agency funding will be renewed to continue supporting that growth with a commitment of $920 million over 6 years. I know, Mr. Speaker, that I'm running out of time, but specifically in my region, as I was mentioning, there's $950 million. Part of that is part of the superclusters, where we're encouraging more innovation, more industry to develop high-tech technology, to work to advance manufacturing and advance high-tech jobs so that we can grow our economy. And I want to end with, Mr. Speaker, I want to conclude with, by echoing the remarks of the Bank of Canada, the Governor Peloso. We are living in an incredibly optimistic economic time in Canada. Our labour market needs to work, but things are looking up as we pave the way for women, youth, and other groups to participate in our labour force. New opportunities and technologies are on the horizon, and Budget 2018 is laying the groundwork for this success. So, Mr. Speaker, I just want to end with, I'm proud that we brought this budget forward. I'm proud that I represent the riding of Kitchener-South Hespeler, where we're embracing this budget with technology, with innovation, with investment, so that we can grow our economy and ensure that everyone in my region and in the rest of Canada prosper. Thank you.